Hi, my name's Jamie, and once again, here on the Spotlight series, I'm taking callers, discussions with friends, family, and all sorts of people around the world. And I'm just inviting people to come along, have a good discussion, and we'll learn something with each other. Hopefully, you guys will learn from something from this too, or at least feel a sense of relatability. So today I have Janelle Watson with me from Canberra, Australia. I hope I didn't butcher that. And she is one of my mentors, my teachers that I had a few years ago, and there's many skills I still use today. So before I truly introduce you, I want to say thank you once again for, all the skills, all the wisdom that you shared with me. So, Janelle is the founder of the Mind Energy Transformation Movement. This is a program meant for women 50 and older so that they can kind of move through their lives and learn how to transform their lives through quantum energy integration, which she'll explain a little bit more about. This is all about weaving science and spirituality. So it gets through all the layers of the being, the mental, the emotional, the energy of the body. And so she helps people clear blocks and find that sense of harmony within their body and their minds once again. And, even though this is such a fantastical movement, integration practice, I want to remind people this isn't magic. It's not a magic pill. This is about alignment with the self. And so, Janelle, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and your inspiration for helping women specifically?
Hi. Okay. Yes. Hello, everybody, and thank you, Jamie, for that beautiful welcome. And we have known each other for a little while now, which is great. And I love Jamie. I just have to say that Jamie has gorgeous energy and is a beautiful, beautiful person. So, thank you so much for inviting me along.
Thank you.
The reason I started working with women 50 plus to start with is that being in this my 60s myself, I am actually looking back at women, 10 years and whatever younger than me and around my age and watching the struggles that go on because we are often once we get into our 50s or late 40s, 50s, 60s, we become part of what I call the sandwich generation, where
Mhm.
we've got children, grown-up children, adult children usually by this stage. We have often grandchildren, and then we may also have parents who are now becoming elderly. So they are needing care. So we've got adult children to look after. We've got grandchildren we run around after. We have older parents now that we run around after. And we're sandwiched right in the middle of all of that. And one of the things that women, when they get to the stage where they're at that term of empty nesters or they're
Mhm.
starting to find themselves again, is that they're feeling a little bit lost because
Mhm.
you've got so many roles that society gives you and so many roles your family gives you, your friends give you. You're not only a mum and a wife or a partner or um, a daughter, sister, all of the roles and becoming grandparent. But these are all roles where you have to run after everybody else, right?
Yeah.
So during this time, we forget that we are now coming into what could be the freest and the most amazing chapter of our lives.
Mhm.
So, this is one of the things I help people to remember. This is why we talk about actually, I work with something called quantum mind shift. Now,
Uh-huh.
quantum mind shifting, the reason we do quantum is because quantum is basically what everything comes down to.
Right.
It's quantum energy. People talk about it all the time. And it's all about your emotional energy. It's all about things like realizing that right down to the very smallest factor of you,
Mhm.
you are an amazing, energetic being having a beautiful human experience.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So remind,
Absolutely.
yeah, and reminding beautiful people of that. And it's funny because previously I have worked with women before in different roles, and it hasn't really just with women, hasn't really gelled with me. But
Mhm.
because I'm now doing something that lights my soul up, and I love doing this, working with women is exactly what I should be doing.
Right.
You see, when I was 50, I woke up on my 50th birthday having been in hospital for a week,
Okay.
having had major surgery, and all of my organs were floating in infection. So I had drains, I had all sorts of things. I'd been cut open from belly button further down. And
Hmm.
I was sitting there thinking, is this it? Is this all there is to it?
Hmm.
I was in my 50, I was just turning 50 now. There was no romantic getaway. There was no, for my 50th birthday, no celebration, no anything.
Hmm.
And I really started to look inwardly at who I was and why I was doing what I was doing.
Hmm. Okay. And that's
And it
really
was,
where your inspiration started coming from. But
mm,
you've been practicing your spirituality even before that, right?
oh, yes, yes,
Okay. All right.
yes. So I've been, uh, yeah, spiritual pretty much my whole life.
Mm.
I actually was, even as a child,
Yeah.
was able
Okay.
to spirits and things. So I've always enjoyed spirituality, but it was just a case of looking at who I was and starting to realize that I needed to work on me. And then after a while, I started to realize I need to work with other women because I'm not, you know, solo in this. I'm not the only one who gets to this particular birthday and goes, what now?
Right. Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't hear too much about people really focusing on that age group. It's just like, oh, whoever wants to. And, the as you were talking about it, it made me realize how transitional that age is. And no one really knows what's coming until you hit it. But you defined it perfectly. So thank you. So, can you talk us about this mind energy transformation? How you find that inner you through the combination of spirituality and science?
Well, what I find is that the reason that we called it mind energy transformation movement is because it also has the acronym of MET. And
Uh-huh.
what this means is when we speak and we work with women, they are met anywhere on their journey. So
Mm,
we meet where they are on their journey, whether their journey is just about at this stage, they're open to the idea of the science behind helping them change, get rid of old habits, get rid of old patterns, break the
mhm.
cycle, or whether they are actually open to the more spiritual. And we meet them at that point and we take them from there as far as their journey needs to go. So, with all of that, one of the big things that I really love is the fact that we know that we can go and have all this scientific equipment that shows us where our brain is,
Right.
it shows where our heart is, right?
Uh-huh.
But there's no one who can tell you where your mind is.
That's a good point.
And it's about the energy of
Right.
you. Your mind is all about the energy of you. So when it comes to mind energy work, it's about actually focusing the energy of your mind
Okay.
to create a transformation. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Like when I work with clients, I'm constantly saying the phrase, we're here to flip the script. Whatever's going on in your mind, when we start shifting that perspective, or at the basis, shifting how you speak to yourself, your energy changes, and then it grows from there, right?
Right. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. And you raise your energy because we're all made up of atoms. Okay. So we're all made up of atoms. We all vibrate at a certain frequency. Now,
Right.
that frequency is our vibrational energy.
Uh-huh.
And with our vibrational energy, we can raise our vibrational energy. And a lot of what we do is we understand that our mind, our thoughts, control things. And we have, most people understand there's a conscious and a subconscious mind,
Hmm.
but it's a case of our subconscious mind controls so many things our conscious mind doesn't need to.
Okay.
So our conscious mind is basically the go-getter of things. Our conscious mind will tell us, allow us to actually shift what happens in the subconscious mind, because the conscious mind is like the director or the driver. And
Right.
when you have your thoughts in your conscious mind and you're consciously thinking things, you can actually change the way your subconscious mind behaves. Because when your conscious mind goes, we're doing this, your conscious mind goes, oh, cool. Okay, I'll go do this.
Right.
So
Right.
that's why we talk about mind energy as well, because it's a case of energetically changing your thoughts into more positive energy rather than negative energy. And
Yeah.
it even can be as simple as doing something that we don't normally do, like if you clean your teeth with the opposite hand.
Right. Right.
Change the way your brain processes things, right? So we have
Yeah.
all these little neural pathways that
Uh-huh.
things go down, and they're basically, we call them habits or rituals, and they're things that we do all the time. So they create a little neural pathway in our brain. If we change that, the brain goes, oh, I'm doing something different now. Cool. I'm going to create a new pathway.
Yes.
And you do that, and it creates a new pathway. And this is why I also speak about mind shift rather than mind set.
Uh, yeah.
To
Okay.
me, the word set, what things set, concrete sets, jelly sets, jello, I think people call it as well, gelatin sets. Might be wobbly, but it still sets, right?
Right.
Whereas what we're looking at doing is shifting and constantly shifting, not
Right.
always just going from one set thing to the next set thing. It's a case of shifting your perspective, shifting your thought processes, shifting the way you see yourself. One of the things I often do with the ladies is get them to walk past the mirror and stop and say, I love you.
Mm, that's beautiful.
It's
That's beautiful.
difficult for so many people.
It is because I realized not too long ago that there was, an extended period of time that I wouldn't even look at myself in the mirror. Even brushing my teeth, combing my hair, I'd walk away from the mirror. And, I was having kind of some mental challenges at the time or life challenges that were messing with my mind. And then you're right, the moment I stopped and realized I haven't seen myself in a week. you know, and that's easy to do. It is. And so consciously making that change has definitely shifted a lot of things for me, and it helps me speak to others in that way. And that is one of the things I remember we had a conversation about a few years ago. So that's that little tidbit of wisdom that's still back here in the subconscious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is difficult. And as you get into your 50s, you start to get grey hairs. You start to
Mhm.
get lines on your body sags a little more. Like, you don't have this perky chest. You don't have these little tight little buns on on your bottom, on your backside. And you'll find that people start to look at that and they criticize it
Right.
instead of embracing it and saying, isn't this amazing that my body is actually showing me how lovely I am, and learning to love those aspects of you.
Mm.
I
Hmm.
found that a little difficult at first. And one of the reasons I realized was because my entire life, all of the women around me that I grew up with were constantly, you must look good, you must
Hmm.
dress nicely, you must, even my grandmother, who I love dearly, used to say to me, don't forget your lippy, darling, don't forget your lipstick. You must put your lipstick on when you go out. And my mum was constantly about, oh, your hair looks shocking, you need to fix that, you need to lose weight, or you need to have this, or you should have this haircut, or you should look this way, or don't forget you've got to put eye makeup on, or you have to. And most of us are brought up, who are around my age, have been
Hmm.
brought up that way as well,
Right.
because that's the way it was.
Yeah.
So women around my age do have trouble shifting that.
Okay. So is that part of like the kind of that collective conscious conditioning, especially for women your age, and then having to unravel that? Do you think maybe social media and stuff like that is helping the unraveling?
It can help the
Yeah.
unraveling. I think one of the things, though, that can be a problem is that when women look at all these young influencers and they compare themselves, that's where stress can actually build up
Got
because
it.
they're sitting around going, oh, I don't look like it. However, once they start to realign with themselves, they go, I don't relate to that anymore.
Mm,
And that's not who I am or who I want to be. I don't want to relate to that. And that's where the changes come in. You start to set the boundaries for yourself, saying, this is how I enjoy being. This is how I enjoy looking. This is how I enjoy
mm,
feeling. And yes, there is more and more in social media now about women as they age and accepting ourselves and the collective consciousness and now saying, let's look inwardly at who we are as well. But I
yes.
do find with older women, we do need to look outwardly as well. We need to embrace the changes that are coming along because until you really get to about your mid 40s,
Mm,
everything's pretty cool. It's still working pretty well. Things are happening. You get into your mid 40s and you start to get this perimenopause. You get into your 50s and you got menopause happening. And it starts to change, the feelings inside your body. And so all of our chemicals are shifting in our body.
right. Okay.
And chemicals create emotions. And we know that emotions are energy in motion.
Yes. It's so true. Um, like we were talking about the other day, our emotions are literally just chemicals in our body, but because they come through so intensely, we
Yes,
translate that into our mental thoughts, right? Is that kind of that combination? That's part of the thing you were talking about that we can't measure scientifically yet, right?
that's
Okay. All right. And then that alternatively affects the subconscious. So, can you tell me a little bit more about that connection between the subconscious and the conscious mind and how shifting the subconscious changes everything?
right. It does. I'll tell you the story I was mentioning to you the other day is that, for example, the way your subconscious mind works is that your subconscious mind looks after 95% of everything your body does, right? Okay, it looks
Right.
after everything. We don't have to consciously remember to have our heart beat in a
Oh,
rhythm. We don't subconsciously have to remember to breathe, although we consciously choose breathing exercises because
right.
it helps, but we don't have to remember to breathe. Our subconscious mind is helping our body to do all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Our subconscious mind is also out there deciding what it is that we are actually focusing on based on what it has learned.
Mm,
So if our subconscious mind thinks that we are looking for something in particular, it will find those things for us. So if we're looking for something negative, it will go finding all these negative aspects. If we are practicing looking for positive things, it will look for all the positive aspects. So if you're out, for example, driving and you're suddenly decide to play Spotto or
mhm,
punch buggy, I think people call it as well, where you're looking for a yellow car, right? Now,
uh-huh,
prior to this time, you've been driving along, nothing yellow. There hasn't been a yellow tractor in the field. There hasn't been a yellow sign. There hasn't been a yellow bus. There's been a yellow car, nothing. Suddenly you go, okay, I'm looking for yellow cars. And bang, Spotto, there's a yellow car. Where was that before? It was there,
right.
but because your subconscious mind wasn't focused on it, it wasn't showing it to you.
Got it.
Once you start to focus on that yellow and you're looking for yellow cars, all these yellow cars appear because your subconscious mind goes, oh, this is what you want. Okay. So being the go-getter, it goes and finds all those yellow cars for you so that you can
Right.
actually see them. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And is that kind of translate into, the way we see signs or synchronicities about us, like our subconscious mind does it help point us in a way, or is it more just kind of a feedback loop?
No, it will. Your conscious mind will, as I said, it's like the driver. So if you get into a car, chauffeur-driven car,
Hmm.
and you've got to drive the wheel, the subconscious mind, sorry, tends to be the driver. It will drive wherever you want it to go.
Right. Okay.
So you in your conscious mind, you are actually the one who is giving it directions. So if you're saying to your subconscious mind, I'm feeling horrible today, I'm, basically looking for negativity, I'm looking for horrible things, your subconscious mind, as the driver, goes, sure, I'll take you to all the horrible things that you can see.
Gotcha.
And if you're positive and you're going, I'm feeling positive, then your conscious mind goes, cool, here's some more positive things to look at, because this is
Mm.
where we're going now. So your subconscious mind becomes the actual driver in the car, and you are actually the GPS telling it where to go in the
Ah,
conscious. Does that
okay.
make sense?
That makes
So
sense.
when you have synchronicities as well, it's some of that is your subconscious mind, but some of that is also your intuition
Mm,
going, here's what the intuition information is giving you. Then it feeds it into the subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind goes, got it. So we're looking for a green sign.
hmm.
There's a green sign. Cool. Now you've got it. You've got your green
Gotcha.
sign. You've right.
Uh-huh. Intuition
So
is quite interesting. It is
mm,
interesting in that sometimes I'll do have just intuitive days. I'm just like putting everything aside and we'll just see where my intuition leads me. And I will always remember this one day. I thought I was going crazy, but it was just an intuitive day. I My intuition said, get in the car and start driving around. So I drove around and I ended up at this Catholic church. And they're like, go inside, go wash your hands, and go sit under the crucifix and just meditate. And it was amazing. It was the first time I really connected to Jesus and remembered that God energy and the angels and stuff. And so, but you're right that the intuition, I couldn't have drove the car to the church if my intuition hadn't been talking to my subconscious, right? Okay. Like I want to make sure I understand that point.
yeah, when you download it, because your intuition is like a muscle.
Right.
You have to keep it in good shape. So
Mhm.
you using it constantly is the way that you actually keep it in good shape, right?
Right.
If you're trying to work with your intuition and you're just doing it spasmodically, it's a little bit hit and miss.
Right.
Because one of the things you find is that you'll quite often override your intuition with reasoning.
Hmm.
Okay. So what happens then is you reason it out and you go, oh no, that couldn't possibly be. That couldn't possibly have been an intuitive hit. That couldn't possibly have been help. So you are then consciously overriding the subconscious and changing the GPS directions.
Ah, okay.
Make
And
sense?
okay. And so is that an okay thing for people? Because I know, maybe that might be a thought when they hear this, they're going to be like, oh, well, I do that all the time. Is that wrong?
It's not wrong. There's no right or wrong. It's just that you will find that your intuition will guide you on what is probably the better outcome for you. So rather than trying to actually fight it, if you listen to it, one of the things that I can suggest for you listeners, people
Mm-hmm.
to watch, you're watching this, um, is to keep an intuition journal. Now, what that is, it's just a little book. And
Uh-huh.
what you do is you go, okay, I had what felt like an intuitive download today or a hit. And sometimes you feel that in your gut, right?
Right.
In your gut area, because that's our solar plexus region. That's our sense of self. And it's also one of your clear senses, the
Hmm.
clear cognizance, the inner knowing. So you get that hit. And instead of overriding it, listen to it.
Yeah.
Then what you do at the end of the day is you write down every time that you listened to your intuition and what the result was. You can
Mm.
then also write down every time you didn't listen to your intuition and what the result was. And what you'll find is over time, as you start to look back, you'll see over a period of a few weeks, suddenly your intuition is actually giving you some more fun results, some better results, just
Mhm.
a different result to what it might have been had you overridden that with reasoning.
Right. Yeah. Nice. And that also, going back to the science part, helps the neural pathways, right? When you start
Exactly.
using your conscious mind in a more fluid way, I guess is the
Yes,
and
good.
and,
Yeah.
and that changes the neural pathways.
It
Amazing.
does because we know, and there's even a book written about neuroplasticity of the brain, right?
Right.
So we know the brain can change itself. The brain can actually change the way it works with things. You've got all your different systems. Your limbic system actually helps you with how you control things, and you've got your fight, flight, and fright, and you've got your rest and digest, and it's all the parasympathetic nervous system. There's all these things, and these things I can talk to people about as well, which is once we understand those, we can then say, okay, well, this is how it relates to the spiritual me, the energetic me, because again, it's all energy, right?
Right.
So, and we've got all these lovely little neurons that are create little dendrites, and they've got all this electricity that shoots between them, creating these little neural pathways. So we're just all energy.
Hmm.
Even the physical us, we're just all energy. We're like walking around little walking batteries, okay, of energy. We're just energy and water and all sorts of things. So, looking at the way all of this works, it means that we can actually use, as I said before, using your intuition allows you to strengthen it
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah.
because you're actually building it like you as though you're going to the gym and building up
Yeah.
your muscles. Same
Right.
thing. If you're actually strengthening, using your intuition more strengthens it. It means that you're then teaching those pathways in your brain that get the intuition. You'll find after a while the urge to override the intuitive hit is less
Hmm.
because suddenly your conscious mind is going, oh, hang on, we don't normally do that. And your subconscious mind is going, I've just gotten this. And your conscious mind is going, well, don't bother overriding it. Let's do it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Outside of the journaling, what other tools and tips do give people to help kind of bring this transformation into their lives?
It's a case of deciding that there's no right or wrong way to do anything. It's what feels right for you.
Uh,
So connecting to who you truly are. One of the big things I have found that in transformation, people are often told they have to do things a particular way,
right.
but we're all unique. I
Hmm.
mean, how amazing is it that we're all unique beings? How boring would it be if we're all the same, right? So, what I say to people is find what feels right with you. We try different things, we try
Uh-huh.
different ways of looking at things. We try journaling, that works for some people. We find that meditation, some people can't do meditation, for example, with their eyes closed. And
Right.
if you are in a place or coming from a place of deep stress, keeping your eyes closed can sometimes actually make you feel unsafe.
Okay.
Also, if you have a tendency to have a brain that goes everywhere, for whatever reason, keeping still and keeping your eyes closed doesn't always work. I quite often do candle gazing for meditation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll actually have a candle burning and I will be watching the candle burning. And that is the way I change my focus rather than focusing with my eyes closed. I
Yeah.
do my meditation watching the flickering of the candle. And that actually helps me to focus. But you can do walking meditation as well. There are people who need to reconnect outside, to the outside world. If you're living in a city, though, that can be a little tricky.
Right.
So we say, bring in a couple of houseplants, connect to nature that way. A lot of people think, oh, I kill houseplants. Well, what we do is we have a look at ways that they can keep the houseplant alive. And that might sound silly, but it's really relevant for people. And
Right.
once they start caring for a plant, they find that they start to become interested in it. And then they start to go, oh, it's looking a bit dry. I need to water it. And then we start to make the connection. Okay. So if your plant is feeling a little bit not looked after, How are
Uh-huh.
you looking after yourself? Do you need to look after you as well? And we then start to make the association of caring for something
Uh-huh.
and caring for ourselves. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. And you help people consciously recognize that, right?
Yes.
Because a
Yeah.
lot of times adding the two together is just not something we've learned as children. And that's something that now in the collective conscious, I've noticed people becoming more open to being aware. I guess that's probably the best way, because I've heard about this whole concept of the Great Awakening, but the only way to
Mm,
get there is the initial is awareness, right?
that's right. And it all starts with you. So in my signature system that I work with in the mind energy transformation movement, we actually go in a bit of a circle and we start with you. And then we move on to higher consciousness. And then we move on to consciousness to the collective. And all of this is based around three main pillars, which is to connect, to clarify, and to calibrate. So we connect, first of all, to who we are.
Right.
There's no use trying to do any other work until you actually understand who you are and connect
Yeah.
to yourself, right?
Yeah.
And
Sorry
then we
about the
move
dog.
along. No,
Yeah.
means if you're actually at home, that's fine.
Right.
Then we actually look at clarifying. So we clarify things like your systems and your understanding your values. Who are your core values? What are your
Mhm.
core values? What really means, you know, what is really important to you? What are your personal values, your core values? What don't you want to shift on? And we look at all of that and we calibrate all of that eventually into empowerment. So we then say, okay, here's all our systems. What have you got in place? What works for you? How empowered are you feeling? And then that leads us to awakening, which is our final point. But when we actually look at it, we look at it this way. It sits in a system like this. When we then do that in layers, it comes
Yeah.
down to a bit of a Fibonacci sequence, which is
Ah,
then starting to come into sacred geometry, which is another
yes.
topic for another day. However, it
Yes.
is something that is, we're all made up of it. If you look at the way flowers, their
Yeah.
petals work, if you look at the way anything in nature works, Fibonacci sequence comes into it. And this is why when I've made the signature system for the mind energy transformation movement, it actually layers down. If we look at it from the top, it's a lot like a Fibonacci sequence.
Beautiful. That's perfect. That's perfect. And that just when as you're saying that, I started vibrating because I understand that it feels good. It's I in just like a simple term, it's like I'm peeling the onion, but the onion
Mm,
layer is a Fibonacci sequence in itself.
exactly.
Hmm.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So what we do is we find if, depending on where people are in the layers, they might be coming in on the top layer and still needing to look at themselves from the physical,
Right.
still putting their emotions under control, still learning who they are on a physical level. And then we work with them on the next level. So we look at them at the emotional level. Then we can take them to the spiritual level
Gotcha.
and we can work with all of that. We do a lot of heart and head connection as
Hmm.
well. So
Okay.
connecting into your heart space, which is where you feel your emotions most of the time.
Right. Yeah.
You get your inner knowing in your gut, in your belly,
Uh-huh.
but around the heart space is where we feel those emotions: joy, love, hatred, anger, fear,
Hmm.
sadness, happiness, being
Yeah.
ecstatic. It comes from here. This energy comes from here.
Yeah.
So this is where we get to people to understand this and this, we need to connect them.
Hmm.
So that when your heart is feeling this, your head is thinking these thoughts.
Yeah. Exactly. Do you have like a way to explain what that bridge looks like between the heart and the head? Is it, because I mean, in between the two, there's the throat chakra. That's what I'm thinking of, like the way you speak to yourself, to others. Is that part of the
Exactly. Yep.
bridge? Okay.
Absolutely. So you've got your throat is joining everything, and it's all to do with both your internal speak and your external speak. And it is very important. Both are very important. People
Right.
think, oh, I only have to think nice thoughts. Well, those nice thoughts are words of the way you speak to you, right? That's your internal speak, which again is coming from your throat chakra.
Right.
However, it's also the external speak. How do you speak about yourself? How do you speak to others? How do you speak about what is actually going on? And that's important as well. So both
Right.
your internal and your external dialogue need to match,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
by doing that, you're actually taking this joy, this love, this sense of who I am, and remembering the highest vibrational energy is actually authenticity. It is the true essence of who you are. We take
Right.
that up here. We speak how we speak to ourselves, to others, about others, and then we bring it up into the headspace so that our thoughts are then attuned to our heart.
Right. Right. And I've noticed, even for myself or others, when that bridge is finally connected, you think through the heart versus your mind more.
That's
And
right.
that's where the intuition starts connecting because your heart and your solar plexus is very combined and you share the energy between the two.
Absolutely, very connected. Your heart is your central space. For those who understand about chakras or work with chakras, we have our seven main chakras. So we have our bottom three chakras, so our solar plexus, our sacral, and our root or base chakra. And then we have our throat and our third eye and our crown chakra. Your heart is the center point for those. It
Hmm.
is the connection between the two. So
Right.
your heart actually creates that central point. This is where everything comes from, emanates from. Because I often refer to people, say to people, it is a heart brain. We have so many little nerves and centers and everything around our heart. The only thing that is different to our head brain is the fact that we don't have the ability to actually speak physically or control speech physically from there. However, it does allow you to control your inner thoughts, right?
Right.
Your inner speak. And that's where your inner speak comes from, your
Hmm.
sense of self, love of self, your knowing, your love of others, your love of what you're doing, your love of your life, the joy that comes from there. It is the true essence of who you are. Once you remember who you really are, there's nothing that can stop that from actually being the true you.
Right. Exactly. And it takes a long time to get there too, because of so many different things. Even, I mean, I'm in my mid 40s now, but thinking back to like my 20s, I was all about how can I be like others because that's the
Yes.
better option. And then the 30s, you're just a total mess because you're trying to figure out who you are, what you want, how do you fit in with others. It's
Yeah.
just chaos. Um, and, moving forward, but I've been a little different because I started, my own self-healing journey a little over 10 years ago. So that was my mid 30s, whereas now I'm really starting to talk to people who are truly wanting that transformation about my age, which segues into what you're doing, So
Right.
thank you.
Yeah. And people get to our age and they think, okay, well, it's too late now.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, once you actually start that recalibration, once you actually start that vibrational alignment where you're actually aligning with your desired states and remembering that words have energy, which is why the throat chakra is so important. Words have energy, words have power, emotions have energy, emotions have power. And each of these things can affect each other. So once we start on that. It's a little bit like rolling a snowball. It starts to gather speed, and then it starts to grow, and it gets bigger and bigger. And once you actually start that recalibration and that alignment, it all starts to fall into place. All those little jigsaw puzzle pieces that seem to be missing out of your story are
Right.
they start to drop back into place. And then you start to
Uh,
see the picture
right.
and you start to
Exactly.
feel the energy that comes from that. And it's a case of having optimal alignment, is what it basically comes down to,
Yeah,
being
exactly.
in alignment with all sorts of things. But it's not too late. Now is a perfect time in your 50s, 60s, and 70s. Now is the ideal time to actually be doing this optimal alignment because you've got time for you.
Right. That's beautiful. So true. So, how does the spirituality connect to all this just general internal aligning and
Right. Well,
integration?
once you're aligning with who you are, you're aligning with the inner you, right? So you're aligning with your soul. Once you're aligning with your soul, you're reconnecting back to the universe, because we are all basically divine sparks of the universe.
Mm,
There's our connection, and we reconnect back to the universe. The universe, we became because the universe decided that it wanted to experience, and to experience things, it had to become something. So
right.
it became lots of things, and we are a divine spark of all of that. So we are connected to the universe. We are connected to each other, and we are
Uh-huh.
connected to the universe. And we're here to experience an amazing experience, so that our soul, when we transition and we finally transition back to being an energetic being, this beautiful energetic being, and we reconnect back with that, then you'll find that you've had all this amazing experience, this experience which has helped your soul to grow. And one of the ways that people start to realize that things are maybe not quite so bad as they thought it was is when they can step back and become the observer and go, oh, wow, this is happening to me so that I can expand and grow. How amazing is that? Isn't that
Hmm.
terrific? Now let's change it so that I'm experiencing the growth of joy and love.
Yes. Yes.
And then that all becomes part of the soul. And that's where the connection comes in. You connect back to your soul, who you really are, and then you can meet spirit guides. Then you can work on that side. Then you
Ah,
can learn about staying positive.
I see. Okay. And that's where like the true journey work comes in, where you're speaking through your soul at that point, right?
That's
Oh,
right. And looking through your soul, observing through your soul. So rather than from just the 3D perspective, you're now looking at things from a soul perspective. And
okay.
once you are doing that, it completely changes the way you perceive things. It completely changes who you are, because it
Yeah.
brings you back into being this amazing soul. And you're
Hmm.
going, wow, life is actually a journey. It's not a problem.
Right.
And you,
It's not a
and
problem.
also,
It's
that's
so
right, it's
true
not a
though.
problem. That's right.
Challenge after challenge, but it's not that these things are happening to us. They're from a universal perspective, they're happening for us,
For
right?
us.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And the more we look at it and go, we're learning from this. And who am I really? Well, I'm here to help others, or I'm here to help myself. And both are right, both are
Right.
fine, because there's no wrong with this. Perhaps this time in this amazing lifetime, you've decided that you need to work on you, and that's where you are. And that's where I can come in as well and help you to actually do the work and understand it and see where all this happens.
Mm. Kind of like the translator, the mirror, or
Yes,
whatnot.
the
Like,
guide.
yes, yes, I see you. Let's get you to see you too and walk forward together. I love that.
That's right. That's right. And that's one of the things I love about what I do, walking this path with amazing women who start to see how just truly beautiful they are
Mm,
inside and
mhm. That's beautiful. Do you work with any women below 50, or do you have
oh
like
yes, I've
kind
got
of a
no, most of my clients are around 40 plus. However, no,
okay,
that's fine. I work with people who are at all ages, all age groups. But I just find that my focus more and more has been helping women who are those of us who came through who are spiritual. Are referred to as the blue rays. They actually have come through for a specific reason, and they have matured in life to the stage where now they're ready to open up their spirituality. But prior to that, they were here to experience other things, and they were here to guide people. So I find that I tend to work with women 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, because they're the ones that resonate with me now.
right?
Yeah, 20 years ago, it would have been different. 20 years ago, there were people who resonated with me with that age. So it's much about that as anything else. But I work with people who are younger. I work with people
Gotcha.
who are young.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a sense of relatability, isn't there? Like, okay, obviously been through many experiences and have the wisdom that we're looking for. So
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
And then also your
Absolutely.
yeah, your ability to connect to the angels has been so beautiful. It's like you and I have had several conversations, including the other day, about, you know, who the angels are, how they're here to help us. And a lot of it is very quiet. There's just it's just a quietness that these angels come in with, but it's big messages too. So whether how you do or other people can hear their angels, is that really where the quieting of the mind and connecting with the subconscious helps?
Yes, the quieting of the mind helps simply because it means that it's if you've always got guides and angelic realm and other realms who are trying to connect with you.
Right.
And the way I often say it to people is imagine that you're in at a party with your best friend, and your best friend and you were on either side of the room, both trying to have a conversation. And when you're trying to have a conversation, there's all this stuff in these people, noise, things happening in between, right? So your conversation cannot really be heard. It's certainly not clear, and you're not going to get every word of it.
Right.
And this is what it's often like for the spirit guides, the angels, the whoever the guides are who are talking with you when you actually have a mind that's cluttered. When you clear the space and quieten the mind and you let those thoughts go off and you don't attach any energy to them and you just let them go and they go, and then eventually your mind quietens down. Your angels, it's like you suddenly are in the same space together in a nice, quiet space, and that conversation can be as clear as it needs to be.
Very
And
beautiful.
that's why we encourage people to quieten their mind, is to
Mhm.
actually do that,
Yeah.
to
And
actually do that.
and anyone can. It's not about, having psychic gifts or, whatever um inclusion people
No,
may have. It's a
everybody has these skills. And that's what I say to people is I don't call them gifts. As you know, I call them
yeah,
skills and
right.
abilities. We all have them. It's whatever your passion is for whichever skill that you like to work on. Because we've
Right.
all got different passions and thoughts and likes and things that we enjoy doing. And that's the skill that you will actually bring forward. Saying to somebody that it's a gift, to me, as I say to people, it often reminds me of the image of Oprah standing on a stage going, and you get one, and you get one, and you get one. And it's not like that. We all
Right.
have these skills and these abilities. It's just a matter of which ones are we tuning into for this particular incarnation and for these particular skills that are needed for something that lights us up. So we do what's passionate, what's joyful, and we might find that whatever our needs are for this particular incarnation, this particular life, they're the skill sets that we bring in, the ones we've
Right.
practiced this life and maybe a few lifetimes before. We get it to the point where, cool, we're ready for these skills now, and they come in.
Yeah,
It's not
everything gets
like
dialed
asking
in.
them. Yeah, you dial them in. It's like learning to play the guitar. If you don't have an interest in it, you're not going to learn, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
But if you spend 10,000 hours on learning to play a guitar, you'll play it pretty well. Same
Right.
concept.
Yeah.
The same concept. If it's a passion, you'll spend time on it. And if you're
Uh,
spending time on it, that's the skill that will actually come to the forefront.
mm-hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. Thank you. So that's about all the time we have for today. Do you have any last tidbits you want to get out, or tell women how to get a hold of you to talk more about your transformation program?
Absolutely. You can find me on Facebook or on LinkedIn, Janelle G. Watson. And if you'd like to connect, I'd love to connect with you in on either of those places. I will leave with Jamie, if it's okay with Jamie, to pop below the video some links so that you can actually find me. I I'll also leave a Calendly link so that you could also book in to have a chat.
Mhm.
And yeah, and let's connect. The mind energy transformation movement is something that I'm very, very tuned into, and it's something that I absolutely love doing, and I am absolutely love working with women. So
There you go.
connect,
There
please
you
connect.
go.
I would love to chat with you.
Yeah, as you were talking about that, I realized how much you brighten up, you know, and I'm like looking at my video, I'm like, it's getting darker and darker, but that's because of the time difference.
That's right.
It's like here it's evening for me, and for you it's tomorrow
Good
morning.
morning. That's
Yeah,
right. It's
it's
morning.
so
That's right.
fascinating. So fascinating. Well, Janelle, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for all your wisdom, and I hope people get a hold of you, because the more we can, learn about ourselves, I truly believe the more people that align with themselves will eventually see society in general change. And so that's
Absolutely.
and this, like you mentioned, the Pluto moving into Aquarius now, it's
Hmm.
literally the beginning stages. It's 250-year cycles, so we wouldn't see huge changes for what, a minimum decade or two, you know?
Well, yes. However, you'll start to see minor changes happening already.
Yeah,
And once we start helping ourselves, we can help others.
very much so. Very much so. Well, thank you,
And
Janelle.
I'd like to remind everybody that you are so much more. You are
Yes,
so much more.
yes, yes, you are, everyone. You are. We're just in these bodies, but like you mentioned at the very beginning, not having the ability to truly scientifically measure our emotions and our mental state is the exact reason why we are so much more. Yeah,
Thanks, Amy.
awesome.
Thanks for having me on. Thank you, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You as well. Bye.
Bye.